Okay. All right.
All right, everybody, welcome. My name is Lynn Drinkwater.
Mhm.
Doing sign language. Hi, everybody. My name is Lynn Drinkwater, and I am the Senior Enrichment Center's program coordinator here. And I welcome all of you to today's wonderful cooking demonstration. This is the very first time we've done a cooking demonstration in the Grand Hall. We have cooking classes monthly in our Carolyn's kitchen, but that's usually only set for like 12 people. So this is something different, and this is our first time, so welcome guinea pigs. And we'll see if this goes well. Brittany has agreed to come back and do this maybe every quarter, and then maybe even monthly for another type of class. We'll just see how it goes. But Brittany Batton is with Empowered Nutrition. And how many of you came last month to Aaron Skinner's program? Very good. Well, I'm glad you guys came back. That's wonderful. So we have a lot going on here today, as you can see. It's kind of fun. We have so much. I just told Brittany that she's very brave because when I host a dinner party, you know, I want a lot of the stuff already done so when people come in, I don't have to think and talk at the same time. And she's going to be doing a lot of things at the same time. So her brain is actually going to be getting a very good workout. So without further ado, this is Brittany Batton, and thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lynn. I am super excited to be here. So yes, I, like she said, I am with Empowered Nutrition, and I've been with them since last fall. Just a little bit about me. I am born and raised in Fayetteville. I haven't lived there my entire life, but I currently live in Cumberland County, so just right next door, not too far. And I have a bachelor's and master's in nutrition, but I am not a trained chef. So just we'll see how this goes, but yeah, I do love to cook, and I really enjoy it. I'm sure some of you do as well. And she actually asked the question I was going to see how many of you came to Aaron's presentation on the Mind Diet last month. So that's exciting that many of you were there for that. But if not, no worries. We will totally catch you up. But for those of you, well, actually, I'll tell you. So what my goal today is just to give you some ideas for how to incorporate the Mind Diet into into a summer menu. So how many of you remember the components of what Erin maybe talked about for what were involved with the Mind Diet? Does anyone know the types of foods that she mentioned or things that can help to reduce cognitive decline? You can just shout it out too. Tree nuts, berries, awesome. Beans, anyone else? Nuts. What about any vegetables? Yes, specifically greens. And that was, I don't know if you remember, it was like 6 times a week. So it was really high emphasis on leafy green vegetables, and then vegetables having at least one time a day, any other types of vegetables. So a real emphasis on whole foods, a lot of produce, but then also when you go to your meats, it's not saying take off all meats. You can have poultry and red meat. So there are a lot of things that actually in the research would show that were helpful for reducing cognitive decline and improving that. So a little layout. I hope everyone got a flyer or a pamphlet of handout of the recipes. So for the menu today, we are going to be doing we have a seasoned chicken breast and a seasoned steak that we're going to top with a chimichurri sauce, and that's going to be accompanied by a lentil. Well, I'll have all the hummus over here. A lentil hummus and then a quinoa kale blueberry salad, and then we also have some raw veggies to dip with the lentil hummus. So, and if anyone has any questions, feel free. You can just stop me at any point, raise your hand, whatever. But I'm sure there'll be points as well during cooking that you can feel free to ask. So I'm just going to start I have the quinoa in here, and let me get to, so I have a cup of the quinoa and then 2 cups of the water. And we're just going to get that to a boil. And then once that goes to a boil, we are going to put this on so it can cook a little faster. And then we will turn that down and let that simmer for about 15 minutes. How many of you have had quinoa before? Okay, so you're very familiar. Good chunk of you have. Awesome. Definitely not the only grain out there, but there's a lot of things. This recipe, it's so versatile. There's so many interchangeable things that you can do with it. So you could use, if you like buckwheat, or if you could do rice, you could do a lot of different things. With the Mind Diet, as far as grains go, they encourage having it on a daily basis, even a couple times a day. So I went ahead with quinoa, since that's a little bit less common. But all right, so we will get that going, and then. So as that is starting to cook, we're going to go to our hummus. Now, how many of you like lentils? Oh, wow, good bit. I feel like my generation, there's not many people that are eating lentils anymore, so I'm really happy to hear that you guys do. Let me grab a spatula. So with this, and you can do this, most hummuses, as you probably know, have chickpeas in them. That's the traditional way. If you buy it in the store, they always have chickpeas. But this is kind of a different take on hummus. So, and you can use any type of lentils that you want to. It doesn't have to be, these are green lentils, but you could use red lentils, brown lentils, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And I pre-cooked these so that they're already soft. And so you would just pour all these into the food processor. And making hummus at home, and hummus is great because it's now so readily available, but even at home, it's super easy. You just pretty much blitz a bunch of things together. And you could do this in a blender as well. All right. Let me grab the... They were. Mm-hmm. And you... Yes. So on the recipe, I went ahead and kind of made things a little bit more efficient. But on the recipe, so it was 1 cup of dried lentils to 3 cups of liquid. Cook those, and you can bring, you could do that. I probably did these about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, I think, just where you can taste them, see if they're soft enough, and then cool them down, and then put them in your blender or food processor. And you could also use canned lentils. You could use canned lentils, canned beans. That's great too. So that will work just fine. And I will say it will turn out probably a little bit chunkier than hummus that you might find in the store. So that's just one thing to be aware of. The texture is a little bit different. So, and then we're going to add all the rest of our ingredients. So we'll start. We have 2 garlic cloves here. It would help if you push the start button and not just the temperature. All right, so we'll get that going. And then next we have our olive oil. So we'll pour this in. Okay. And lemon juice here. So I'm so glad you asked. So this is tahini. Has anyone else heard of tahini? Okay. It is sesame seed butter or sesame seed paste. It's used a lot in Mediterranean cooking. So essentially, it's just like peanut butter or almond butter, but it's just ground sesame seeds. And it's a little bit more drippy and runny than traditional nut butters or seed butters. But it's great. I love to use it in so many things. You can bake with it. You can make sweet things or savory things. So it's a main component in hummus. So it's what kind of gives it that flavor that is a little bit different. Of tahini? Quite a while. Yeah, I'll keep mine in the fridge. Gosh, it'll last a month. It's great. It's like a nut butter if you put it in there. Yeah, I've probably had it in my fridge for, not this one, this is a fresh one, but yeah, for quite a while if you're not going to use it on a regular basis. But to be honest, I mean, I'll put on a lot of things. I actually just ate it on my scrambled eggs this morning. So, a trick, that's a great question. It is tough. A trick I've found with nut butters and seed butters to kind of get past that frustrating, oil on top and a whole bunch of thick seed left on the bottom. I pour it out of the jar or the container into a mixing bowl, just kind of like this, and then I mix it, then pour it back until it's all unified. I pour it back into the container and then stick it in the fridge, or if you want to keep it in the cabinet. And it stays unified. So it's great. That's one thing. It's super helpful. It is kind of a pain to do it initially, but once you get past that, then it lasts for a while, just like that. All right, and then so teaming we have so you can definitely use different seasonings. I chose to do cumin and coriander. Cumin is more common in hummus, but coriander, I absolutely love it. Has anyone had coriander or cooked with it? Great. It is actually the seed of the cilantro plant. It has kind of a fruity, floral flavor or an aroma, but I find it's really nice in hummus. All right. And you might as well have to add a little bit more water, just kind of depending on if you could add some more lemon juice if you have it, but to thin it out, if it's too thick and too sticky, then you might have to add a little bit of water. So, all right, so we'll get that blending. And I like to stop it a few times and then scrape down the sides and kind of make sure there's no residual things. Sure. I did. You can definitely cut them up. Depending on your food processor too, they should blend and mince right up, so they shouldn't be an issue. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I say that, and hopefully one of you don't get a huge garlic chunk in your tip. I'm sorry? Yes, please do. Raw garlic is great for you, though, I will say. All right. So we're going to set the timer for 15 minutes, and that's going to simmer. Okay. All right. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I don't know if you all can see it. It's kind of drippy, just like hummus, or chickpea hummus, I should say. So we're going to go ahead and put this in our bowl. Yes. Yes, I was going to say shallot, and hopefully you wouldn't have an allergy to that. Yeah, and I was going to say we do have some clients that will do infused olive oil, garlic infused olive oil, to flavor it, but I don't know with allergy that would not be a smart idea. Yeah, I would say probably more shallot, and then anything in the onion family. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different taste for sure, but it does have that sharpness and that bite. Red onions does. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. I was hoping I could have a menu where everyone could try something. I did not expect a garlic allergy, so I'm so sorry. And I will say everything is dairy free. So there's nothing, you all probably saw that from the recipes. There's no dairy, no eggs. There are nuts, obviously, with the almonds. All right. And now there's so many different flavors. This is pretty a basic hummus, but there's so many different flavors that you can do with hummus. Roasted red pepper, more of a stronger lemon flavor. I'm sure you've seen them all in stores too, but okay. There. All right. Oh, oops. Tomato down. Okay. All right. So while that is still cooking, we can go through and kind of chat about this salad that we have. So with and I know I mentioned before, with the Mind Diet, they really encourage, have a heavy emphasis on greens. Now, with the salad, I chose to do kale. You could interchange any green you want to. If you hate kale, go for something else. You do like more of a salad green that's not as heavy as kale. You could also do Swiss chard, or actually one of my favorites is dandelion greens. I don't know if you ever had any dandelion greens, but you can find them in some stores. So they're super nutrient dense. They're actually one of the highest greens in calcium. Not many foods are a good source of calcium, so that can be outside of dairy, so that can be challenging. But and then with kale, one thing, I will grab some gloves to show you. So this is raw kale, but the trick, and it will soften a little bit because the quinoa will be a little bit warm. But with kale, on the recipe, it says to chop it up in fine shreds. You can either chop it or you can rip it up with your fingers. You don't have to use a knife. That's what I chose to do. And then with this, in order to help, because it is very fibrous and sometimes it's not that fun to eat. So in order to kind of help break down those fibers, you massage it. And I believe it says that on the recipe, but kind of just go in there and work with your hands like this. It takes a couple minutes, so not too long, but that really helps to make it a little bit softer and kind of break down those fibers and make it much more enjoyable to eat. So has anyone ever massaged their kale? Oh, good. You guys are on top of it. Awesome. All right. And yeah, I would definitely encourage switching up your greens from time to time. So, if you're always having kale, then switch to something different. If you're always having collard greens, from week to week or month to month, change up your greens. And that can be really great and really beneficial. And then we've got our sliced almonds. So you can do any nut you want. You can do pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. They're great in the salad. Walnuts, whole almonds, that type of thing. So, and then with blueberries, so I kind of actually mixed a couple recipes together for this, but the original recipe called for cranberries, dried cranberries. And so I know for cognitive health, we want to try to minimize dried fruit as much as we can. It's totally fine to have it, but not have a ton of it. And so I chose to switch it out for the blueberries, and that's any type of berry is awesome. But you could definitely do whatever's in season. So if you have peaches are great, or we just passed blueberry season, and strawberry season, but totally feel free to sub that out and add that as well. And then for our dressing, I went ahead and mixed this together. It is olive oil, balsamic vinegar, Dijon mustard, and then with the maple syrup, it kind of depends on your preference and your tolerance. I believe I added maybe a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons. But if you like a little bit more vinegary and sharper, you can definitely have you could add 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. Yes. Yes, absolutely. You could definitely, just kind of depends on the type of flavor you're going for. So honey will work great. Since this was a maple Dijon type of thing, that combination, I stuck with that. But yeah, you definitely could do honey because honey and Dijon, honey mustard is great. So feel free to do that as well. All right. Okay. Anyone have any other questions about the salad? No? Awesome. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So salt, as you all know, it is definitely a flavor enhancer. Makes food taste much better. With salt, I will say not all salt is created equal. So I definitely prefer to have something. And this is, I don't know if you've all heard of Redmond, but real salt. You don't. There's a lot of great brands out there now. It has a lot more minerals in it than just regular table salt. So that's really helpful. But when you're salting your foods, most individuals, it's one thing if you're going out on a regular basis eating out, because they definitely have a lot more sodium in foods. But when you are primarily cooking at home, a little bit of salt is totally fine. And I would say, but that depends on each person as well. So I think it depends on, because when they do say low sodium diet, a lot of times it's like you have to reduce the types of salt that you're having in processed foods or restaurants. So that's where the kind of the big kickers are. But you definitely, for sure, if your healthcare provider has told you really even minimize salt at home, then do so. But for generally, salt is, our bodies absolutely need salt, 100%. Granted, there's always for sure health conditions that you need to modify that. But as I would say, when you have a high quality salt with other minerals in it, so important for the body. So, and that's why I choose to, not only for the taste, but then also for the other minerals as well. But green, no, what is that? Okay. It might have some other, I wonder if it's other things combined with the salt too. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So this is a sea salt. This is actually mined in America. Let's see. I actually bought this at Harris Teeter. You can buy it from their website, Redmond, and they have different sizes and that type of thing. But Redmond is a good one. And then just left me the other one that I use regularly. Oh, it does not have iodine added though, so that's one thing. Yes. If you don't have it in your salt, you want to be eating like seafood and sea vegetables. So that's another good source of iodine. So, or if you don't do dairy, because it will be in milk a lot of times. So that's one thing just to be aware of. Because I do have individuals that they switch to pink salt or Himalayan salt or sea salt, and then they don't have no other sources of iodine in their diet. And so you got to be careful with that. So if they're like, I can't do seafood at all, then you need to have some source of iodine. So, All right, let me just check on this. Oh boy, we've got these pots there. I don't know if anyone has any of these pots that, looks like it's stopped simmering. Let me turn this up to medium. Funny how you practice all of that, you do it ahead of time and it works perfect, and then when you get in front of a whole bunch of people, it just decides it doesn't want to simmer. So that might take another second to keep going. All right, but I am going to go ahead and we'll pop these chicken breasts in, and with the chicken, I went ahead and pre-cooked these. So let me grab. And this rub is super simple. A lot of you have these types of spices already in your cabinets. And I went ahead with, as far as cooking them, I know everyone has kind of their favorite method for cooking chicken. You definitely can grill them. They would be great that way. I seared them and then I finished them off in the oven. So you could do that, or you could just bake them right away. You don't have to sear them to take the extra step out. Or you could cook it in your pressure cooker or your crock pot, anything like that. So, all right, so we'll put this on big. We'll do them at 2 different times. Let's go. Yes. So I already have the rub on there. I mixed the rub up and then just put it on the chicken, and then seared it, and then popped it in the oven. So this is just rewarming it, so we don't have to. That's a great question. I think it was about, I seared it for about, it was about 3 to 5 minutes. I kind of just checked it just to make sure it wasn't too done on the outside, just so whereas, it came off the pan very nicely. I'm pretty sure it was about 3 minutes. And then in the oven, that's a great question. I actually didn't keep track of that because a lot of times I'll just take it out and test it with a meat thermometer and then, base it off of that. It was probably around 20 to 30 minutes, I want to say. The best route is, and you can kind of tell, just eyeballing it, and then the best way to kind of check with the meat thermometer. I know not everyone has one, but I didn't cut into them. You definitely can cut into them, double check it. If it's not quite done, put it back in. So to this right here, 375. Yep. So that'll take probably about 10 minutes to rewarm. Might put it up a little bit more. So, okay. And then after we do the quinoa, we'll let that sit for a second, mix the salad together, and then I do have some steaks as well that we'll actually sear and then finish off in the toaster oven. So, too bad I couldn't have a full oven in here. All right. Okay, so that is about done. We'll set that. And I know you're definitely not supposed to open up. Yes. You can definitely do the rub on the steaks too. So yes, you could do whatever. And I didn't put the steaks on here on the recipes because there wasn't a recipe for it. It was just the main recipe was the chimichurri sauce to top in any meat. And you can do chimichurri on anything. You could do it on meat. You could do it on vegetables. It's so versatile. So I just wanted to give you a rub idea, and you could rub on. It doesn't have to be just chicken. It could be anything you want it on. So it would be fine on meat. You could do it even on ground meat. That would be great. Yeah. So it's definitely not just a poultry thing. So, and with the steaks, I just did salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and that's it. So super basic. I really want more of the flavor of this to kind of shine through with the taste. But obviously, if you prefer your meat by itself, you can definitely have it solo. So, or if you don't even want the meat, you can definitely just taste the chimichurri sauce. So, totally up to you. Yes. If you're putting it, okay, right. 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 And you just put it in the microwave for 6 minutes. Oh, wow. Wow. I would say one thing, if you put it on both sides, it would definitely, that might be, I would just do it on the top, where it wouldn't be touching the water if you can, or if you would like to have that flavor in your chicken salad, you could definitely put those spices. You could do a lesser amount of it, obviously, but you definitely put those spices in the chicken salad after. Yeah. That's a great idea. Absolutely. All right. We'll let that go for a few more minutes. Say that one more time. So with this salad, I always say, I find that serving sizes are a little bit tough. I like to eat a lot of food, and sometimes the serving sizes don't quite measure up, but it's fairly large. And I think I will say also that depends on how much kale you use. So with this in the recipe, I would say at least 6 to 8, but in this recipe, that's if it's a side salad. But you could definitely do it more of a meal salad. So that's one thing to kind of figure out. Well, how are you actually eating it? With the kale, I've definitely done it where I've had half the amount of greens. So some people might not like as much greens as what we're putting in, and this is so a little bit more emphasis on that and maybe less emphasis on the grain, but you could do it vice versa, where you have a little bit more grain heavy and a little bit less green. So that's one thing just to be aware of, and then how much fruit you're adding in too. Some people might just like a little sprinkling, and then others would add a larger amount. So that could change the end amount. But I would say, yes, as a side, it could totally be up to 8 servings. So, yeah, and also too with the dressing, I might not use all of that. Just kind of depends as I mix in, and that depends on how almost dressing you want your salad. Because some people really like a lot of dressing, having a little bit more wet, and some people, do prefer it to be a little bit lighter. So, and it's great. That could also be a great dressing for other salads, and then also a marinade for meats. So anything like that, it's super versatile as well. Yes, you could definitely eat it. I've eaten it out of the fridge cold, and it's great. I will say the dressing does get soaked up quite a bit in there, so it does taste a little bit different than making it fresh. But then, so it kind of not completely cooks, but does wilt the greens a little bit. But it is a little bit more of a warmer salad, or room temp, I should say, room temp salad. So, yes. Say we'll get there if our quinoa will cooperate with us. So, and I know this is the rule where you never open up your pan whenever you're cooking a grain, but all right, should be. There we go. Okay, so we'll take that off and we'll let that sit for a few minutes. Okay. Grab. I think I'm good right now, but I will definitely call you whenever if my 2 hands won't be sufficient. Mhm. Good. Okay. Now for the steaks, these are ribeyes, and you can use obviously any cut of steak that you want. Yes, you definitely don't have to do a steak. You could put this over. This would go great over any type of beef. So, all right. So, and also with as far as the oil, I'm going to use avocado oil. Has anyone ever used avocado oil? Great. It's great for higher heat cooking. So just a little bit more. Granted, these aren't going to be that high. It's only going to be about 300. I definitely try not to set off any smoke alarms today. So, all right. test these real quick. A little bit more time. Of course, there we go. The pot will just suction up and then I won't be able to open it. Okay. So once that gets to temperature, we'll sear those on each side and then put them in the oven. And this. You all have great questions. So if you... I didn't use any of the, I didn't find that for the hummus, I didn't find that it needed any other water, but had some on hand in case I wanted to thin it out a little bit more. If you don't like a really thick hummus, you could definitely have a more drippy, thinner hummus. So, oh, and as a side note, I have, as far as dessert goes, I have some dark chocolate. So we didn't have a dessert recipe today, but because the emphasis was really kind of focusing on aspects of the MIND diet, but I love dark chocolate, so I figured I'd share some. But this is, I don't know if you all like these percentages, but this is 85%, so it is higher. And then this is a sea salt, 70%. So in case afterward you want to come up and try some, you are more than welcome to. But all right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just mix in see how our quinoa is looking. Okay, I do want it to cool off a little bit, so we'll just keep it open. With the lid off. All right. I don't know about you all, but I make a lot of dishes when I cook, so I tend to be a messy cook, so it's great having everything organized. But I love, definitely, I'm a clean up after everything's done. Sometimes you've got so many things going on at one time, it's hard to actually like wash dishes while you're trying to follow a recipe or cook. So, all right. Okay, I'm going to set the timer for that. I'm going to do about 3 minutes each side. And obviously with searing steaks, you just kind of go at it with as far as the color, what you want. And if it's still really sticking to the pan, you want to leave it in there. And when it releases nicely, that's a great indicator of that it's ready to flip. So. No. Quite too hot. All right, so we'll let that sit for a second longer and we'll check our chicken again. Okay, a couple more minutes. Yes. Yes, definitely. Uh, Air fryer would be great. I just got an air fryer, but I didn't want to bring it in case I wasn't sure how many people had an air fryer. But yes, if you have one, that would be awesome. Do you? Wow. I yes. hmm I have a lot of clients that have one now, and they love it. I'm kind of behind the times. I mean, I love kitchen gadgets, but that was one thing that I did not get for a long, long time. But I have a lot of people that say that they love it, and they use it quite a bit. So, but one thing I think too with air fryer, it's smaller capacity, so you can't cook as much food at one time. So it just kind of depends on your lifestyle if that works for you or not. But some people it's great for. So. All right. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. There's pros and cons, right? All right. Get that quinoa in there. Okay. I have 3 cups in here, so I might not use all of these. Ooh. See how our steaks are looking. A little bit longer. Okay. Oh, and also on the recipe, I mentioned you could use either balsamic or apple cider vinegar. So either one of those, any type of vinegar would be fine. I do like the flavor of the balsamic with everything. So, all right. So we're going to pour this over. Actually, let me whisk it up real quick. All right, so that looks good. I wish I had a camera so you guys could actually see what I'm doing. All right. I'm sorry? So I have actually found them at Harris Teeter. The Harris Teeter I go to, I see them there pretty consistently. And I also at Sprouts as well. And then, of course, anywhere in your yard that actually it's totally fine to get them. I would just say if you're in an area that has a lot of cars going in and around or animals, as far as like you don't want, you definitely can get them from yard and public places. Totally fine. I've definitely foraged dandelion greens all over. And the great thing about dandelions, you can use the flower, you can use the leaf, you can use the roots. So every part is edible. I've even taken the flowers off and then made some lemon poppy seed balls, like snack balls. I put them in my food processor. I gave it like a bright yellow color. So it's not very flavorful, but you get nutrients from it and you get the color. So it's just kind of a fun thing. But yes, the greens are very nutrient dense. I will say if they're younger and more tender, they're less bitter. So that's one thing. They are a little bit on the bitter side as far as greens go. So just be aware of that. You can definitely eat them raw, but you can cook them as well. So, I'm sorry. That is right. Yeah. So that's one thing too. Know where you're getting them from. So if you don't spray your yard and you have some growing and you don't want them in there. Right, in the public, that's, I was going to say, yes. If you know, if there's some land that it's just land that no one sprays or is on or it's not public, then that would be a better option if they're not sprayed, for sure. But yes, they're definitely, and gosh, I will say Harris Teeter sells a very big bunch of them. So it's quite a bit. Has anyone ever had dandelion greens? Yeah, awesome. Great. Great. It's funny. I also put them in cornbread one time. I was like, I got to find different ways to use it. I was trying to find different ways, and I actually just chopped it up and put it in cornbread, and sounds crazy, but it turned out good. At least I thought it did. So, all right, take this out. Actually might do those steaks, finish those steaks in the oven first. Okay, so I'll put that. Okay. So with this salad, we're gonna put it right in this bowl here. So it does make quite a bit, and you obviously could cut down. You could cut the quinoa in half, and only use. It depends on the kale. Depending on the store you get it from, they sell a very big bunch, and sometimes it's smaller. You could also use lacinato kale. This was curly kale. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's several different kinds. So this is the more common one I think that you would see in stores. But the lacinato is actually, or dinosaur kale, it's thinner, it's not as bushy, and it's not as, how do I describe it? It kind of does look like dinosaur skin on it. That sounds a little strange, but yes, and sometimes it's a little bit darker, but that's totally fine. That's great. And I will say too, with kale, a good thing is to don't throw away the stems. So I didn't put the stems in here. You definitely could put the stems in here if you chop it up real finely, but you can definitely cook stems. I usually put those in, if I'm cooking, I usually put those in the pan first, get them soft, and then put the leaves in because it takes much, much less time. All right. Okay. And we will do this last one. All right. Let's go ahead and cut this chicken up and then plate it. You're right. I think with chicken, it is a little bit tricky because sometimes the breasts these are larger and then those are a little bit smaller. So the cooking time can totally vary. So it can be a little challenging. All right. move this over. Actually, I'll cut both of them up first. And that 130. I'm sorry? That's a great question. Does anyone have an elf glove? I've had it for years. I think it was something that my family bought offline. I don't even remember, to be honest. But it's called the elf glove. It's great. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, do you? Yes. Yeah, if anyone has seen it in the stores, I don't know that it might be somewhere at a kitchen store or, home store. I am not sure, but it is nice. It's always so nice when you can actually because some pot holders are very difficult to maneuver around containers or pans. So. The Of Glove. So it's just OVE. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's on Amazon. Oh, great. Everything's on Amazon now. So. Oh, yes. So this is one of my favorite kitchen items. It's a pepper mill, but it's made from an elm tree, so elm branch. But the guy who made it, actually, I think he's in Canada. I found it online, of course, but it has a great pepper mill or mill in it, and you just put the peppercorns in there, pop this on, and he has all different types of trees he used, but he doesn't cut down any trees. He just uses fallen branches, so it's great. And then it's great. You can change the grind size. So. And he does, there's some that are birch, so it's kind of a wider, they're beautiful. And he does salt grinders as well, so. Oops, all right. Okay, let's take those out. Say it one more time. Oh, the pots. It's actually my gift from my mom. I don't even remember where she had gotten them. We've had them for years. And so, yes, they're great. Very heavy duty. But yes, I have definitely enjoyed them. All right, let me take this off. Okay, that's good. Actually, if you'd like to put this on here, I can get the other. Sorry, didn't even think about that. Could have called on the sous chef. So you could definitely use that one. And then once you finish that, we'll cut these up, and then have to do the other piece of chicken. Wasn't sure who was more a fan of chicken or steak, so did a little bit more. Great, thank you.
That looks delicious.
All right. Oops. Just a little bit. All right. Oh, and these on top. Okay. And if anyone just wants some plain blueberries, I'll put those there. All right. Now I need someone to wash all my dishes. Perfect. That's the worst part about cooking, right? Although I will say I do enjoy cleaning, so I guess it's helpful. And feel free, you can get chicken or steak or both. You don't have to. Nope. So just sorry, I didn't realize. Salt, garlic, and black pepper. Yes, we're getting ready to make the chimichurri sauce, so I'll mix that up. I know all these sauces and dips, and so that that's really the star of the show for the meat. This is a Wusthof. It's German-made brand. I really like it. I actually got it as part of my master's program. We had a culinary part component of the program, and they gave us all. It was included with a knife and kind of cooking, cutting board, and so. All right. Oops. Make these a little bit smaller. And we'll put the chimichurri on the side in case anyone doesn't want it. I won't put it on top, but you can drizzle it on top if you'd like. All right. Well, at least these, we found out that these smoke detectors aren't too sensitive. All right, if you want to have that. Okay. All right. I'm going to put the other chicken back in. Thank you guys for being so patient. Oh, I do need that. Okay. All right. So this chimichurri sauce, has anyone ever had this type of sauce before? Great. So it is primarily from South America, more Argentinian. cooking, but it's similar to a pesto, but just different herbs and a little bit more acid in it. So it is super easy to make, but super flavorful. All right. So I'm going to mix this back up. Thank you. So in here I have extra virgin olive oil, red wine vinegar, lemon juice, some salt, and red pepper flakes. Oh, and then chopped garlic too. And then just the herbs, we have parsley, cilantro, and oregano, and then some red onion. All right. I'll just mix this back up together. And you definitely could do this in a blender. You'd kind of chop up and mince up your herbs first and then put in the liquid. But I went ahead on this time, I just chopped it all by hand, or you could do it in a food processor as well, and then just mixed everything together. Oops. Garlic stuck in there. Let's see if I can get all these herbs in this small bowl. And as far as chimichurri goes, you can definitely kind of customize it to your liking. If you don't have any oregano on hand, that's fine. You don't have to have it. You can sub out anything or just leave it out and add more parsley. So that's what's nice about it. And if you absolutely hate cilantro, if you have that genetic disposition where it tastes like soap, then I would definitely leave it out. Okay. And this is usually served room temperature, but it lasts several days in the fridge, so it's totally fine. It will solidify a bit, obviously, with the olive oil. So just let it sit out for a bit, and then it'll mix a little nicer. Okay, so that's that, and we will. Is anyone hungry at all? I know it's mid-afternoon, so I know you guys didn't expect to come, for a meal or anything, but. You could do it however you want to. That's my philosophy. There's no rules. However, if you're like, hey, you could do steak bites that would be great. Yeah, you definitely could do the hummus as an appetizer. So, oh yeah, with the meat, you can have meat anytime. But yes, normally I've eaten that as a meal. So. Right. You should be. Yes, that's great. That's what I'm talking about. I hope the chicken's not too done, I will say. It is. I know they're not done enough. It's always the best, right, when you take it off the pan, but to reheat is tricky, I think. Right. And if anyone does not like their meat medium rare, we have definitely some more done pieces. So, oh yes, Yes, absolutely. And I do have a couple more breasts in there as well. Yes. Yeah, I did 3 steaks and then 4 chicken breasts. So let's see. I think those are all.
And the chimichurri sauce, can you just go on the meat or
Mhm.
both?
Yes, if you want to put on both, that's great. But if anyone doesn't want it on their meat, that's fine too.
Does everybody want some chimichurri sauce on their meat? Does anybody not? On the side, have any of the side? Okay.
That's easy. Of the kale. Okay. I was going to say there's no garlic. I didn't put any in that. Okay, great. I'm gonna double check. That's right. Yeah, because that is the only because the garlic is in the hummus. So 2 just kale salads. Okay, awesome. Well, it's funny because I sometimes I will add garlic to that dressing, so I'm so glad I didn't. Okay.
And we wanted, another person wanted the chimichurri on the side, right?
See, all the folks that are watching on live stream, they're missing out, aren't they? Mm-hmm. These are definitely more medium rare. That's my kind of steak.
Me too.
Awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Mm.
somebody wants a little more after everybody's been served, I certainly can do that.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? You guys asked great questions. So, yes. Baby kale? Absolutely. Yep. You're right. It is. Yes. So any baby greens are perfectly fine. Or even, yeah, if you want a different flavor like arugula or regular baby salad greens, that's great. I haven't tried. I've mainly done kale in the salad, but I haven't tried any other green. So, so far. Oh, let me turn this off. I don't know, but you should talk to the owner about that. So, yeah, totally. Maybe that's a venture we could look into. Well, actually, really, our passion is to teach you how to do it. No, but yeah, we don't do any. We do cooking demos. Some of our team did an Instapot cooking demo recently, so just kind of around town. But that's something we're just starting to get into. So if you know of anywhere, if you know of anything, any ideas that you'd like us to do, feel free to send it our way. So, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially when people are cooking for one.
Right.
They say now with the price of everything, it's a lot cheaper for someone to go out to eat.
I know. Yes. Yes. Food is so expensive. And that's also our passion too, is to be able to, and there are a lot of elements in this meal. Obviously, you might not be buying fresh herbs and steak every single week, but I love being able to create and come up with meal ideas that are inexpensive and are it's still enjoyable, but don't break your wallet. So, and still nutrient dense too. So, mm-hmm.
I'm always talking about the fresh market.
So it kind of depends on your tolerance too. I've eaten it many days. I've eaten on 4 days, and I don't have a problem with it. I know everyone's tolerance for leftovers is a little bit different, but because it is already a little bit wilted, I think that's fine. With it doesn't need to be kind of as bright, so it's totally fine to sit in the fridge for several days. I will say, like I mentioned earlier, the dressing does soak up a little bit, so it will be a little bit drier. It won't be as. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that would be actually a better suggestion. I'm glad you brought that up. That's what I would probably. You could mix everything together, or you could keep everything separate. You could keep your bowl of quinoa, your grain, any fruit, your greens, and then your dressing just kind of in a bowl or a jar or whatever, and then combine it when you do want it. And that would definitely have a much fresher taste. So, mm-hmm. Yep, that's a great question. Could also probably help you guys too.
Can somebody raise their hand if they haven't been served yet? We don't have any.
Oh, and then the steak on that one. Oh yeah, it looks like we're good on meat, and then these are doing. Oh, you like it? Good. sure I have all the components. Great. What were you surprised by any of the flavors or anything that kind of catches any new flavors that you haven't had before? The combinations. And that's, I love that you brought that up because many times I hear individuals say, well, healthy eating tastes horrible, or I don't want to eat greens, and they just taste gross. Oh, I agree with you. Just like, it's all about how you prepare it, and the flavors that you combine it with can make a world of a difference. So I was close to doing something like liver, but I decided to go a little bit softer this time. I'm a huge fan of organ meats, but I figured, probably not the best first choice. So I'll go around. You're welcome. That'll be next month. That's also a big part of my diet. Yeah, you might be two of you here that time.
Exactly. All right, was that everybody?
Does the hummus surprise anyone? Do you find do you like chickpea hummus better, or how do you feel about the lentils? Really? Awesome. Has anyone ever made hummus with lentils? Okay. Okay, with chickpeas, and then so no lentils. Yeah, I think sometimes people don't know what to do with lentils, or you just eat them plain. I've actually blended them up, put them in banana muffins. Like there's so many different ways you could use lentils, but your hummus is a great way. So it's a little bit different flavor, a little bit different texture, but it's also great as a dip for other types of foods. Like I'll just add it on the side to things. You don't have to have it with crackers or raw vegetables, as most people do. You could add it as a dip to your meats, or I even put it on my eggs. I put everything on eggs, but yeah. And then let's see. As far as the parsley. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. Yes, and parsley. And you can definitely sub out, like I said, different herbs. Parsley's a little bit more mild. So if you do more cilantro, that would be a little bit stronger. And then I do like the subtle hint of the oregano, but obviously it's expensive to buy herbs, so you definitely don't have to do all those combinations. Mm-hmm. Totally, you can definitely do that. I will sub out dried herbs all the time. It might change because this is a fresh herb sauce. It could change the texture a little bit. So just be aware of that, because if you're tasting kind of that dried oregano leaf, but if you want a little bit of that flavor, I think that's great. So. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, that's very tricky. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. I live off leftovers, so a lot of foods I make, like if it's not good as a leftover, then sorry, it's not cutting the bill. Like I definitely have to have things keep for several days. And one thing with fresh herbs, it's I don't know if any of you have done this before, but I like to when I get them, I like to chop off the ends, and then just because a lot of times I don't use a whole bunch of whatever I purchase unless I'm making a larger amount. Then you hate to waste the whole herb. But I found the best way to keep them is usually when I cut the ends off, I'll stick them in a glass jar, usually depending on the size, how long the stems are, with something like this or even smaller, even something like this, and put them in just standing up in the fridge. And I've had my herbs stay fresh for 2 weeks. And you can just a little bit of water in there, and take off the leaves that are at the bottom so they don't sit in the water. But yeah, that's a great way to keep herbs fresh. And obviously sometimes it depends on this, how fresh the herbs were when you originally get them. But that's a great way. And then a lot of times, if I don't have a recipe that I'm using for a specific herb and I just have extras left over, I'll just take them out, chop them up, and then throw them in a salad with leafy greens, and gives a different flavor, different texture. I do that all the time. It's like I don't have time for a recipe. I don't have time to make anything else with this, but I'm just going to throw a salad together real quick and then just add some herbs in there. It's a great way. Well, we did. We got before 3:30, so perfect.
Great job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys are so welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad you stuck with me through all the moving parts. So you like on a monthly basis? Awesome. Well, I would love to do that.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to do something like this. The hard part for me on the monthly basis thing is October, November, December is Medicare open enrollment, and I take my programming hat off and I put on all the Medicare hats, and it's going to be a little tough, but we certainly welcome you back to do something. I know August we kind of already have set, but maybe something in September.
Yeah.
We can put on the books, and then we can start back up after the new year.
Great.
So that would be kind of fun if we could put our heads together and come up with whatever
Absolutely.
you need from us to make your life easier.
This was great. You guys did awesome setup. Sure. Yes, you are so welcome. And if you guys want seconds or you want to take some home, grab a plate. Yes, please make sure you get some. Oh, please do. Yes. Oh, you could probably turn it off. Yes, have you? Beet's great. Yeah, really pretty. Yeah, I was close to bringing a black bean dip instead of the hummus. Oh, look at there is a big chunk of that garlic.
Oh, there it is.
Oops.
That's okay. At least it's there.
And hopefully it wasn't on anyone else's plate. That's funny. Good. Well, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Hopefully it wasn't too salty either. Good. Yes.
Dark chocolate or 85% dark.
So 70 or 85%. I spared you all and didn't bring the 100%. I love 100% dark chocolate, but that's a little bit strong. Yes. Good. Oh, awesome. Do you melt the chocolate and then you put it in muffin tins? Awesome. Yes. Oh, that's definitely a fun way to do it. That's great. I used recently some chocolate chips, and I love salt on my chocolate, so I put a little bit more than what it typically comes with. But yes, I did that. But even, do you use a metal muffin pan or like a silicone? Okay. Wow, and they pop out just easily. Okay, great. Yeah, that's super easy snack if you want to customize it, and it's fun to change it. Right. And then when you get it, it's a small serving, and it's not like you're going to sit there with the whole bar and, yeah, keep eating. Oh. Right. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I'm so glad you got to try something. Yes. So I've gotten, and there's not a Whole Foods here. Whole Foods brand is good. I definitely have theirs. This one I actually purchased from Harris Teeter, and it was, I don't have it with me, the jar. It was, I believe it was Simple Truth Organic. You don't find tahini everywhere. So, and then some of them are more uncommon brands, but I think it's unroasted that I get. I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to remember what was on this brand actually was the first one I had, first time I had gotten it, but it worked well. And I did the same thing. I took all, because I was kind of, you could feel it's really thick at the bottom and really, oily at the top. And so I dumped it all out and mixed it up, and it did great. So, but yes, tahini, oh gosh, I use it in so many different things. Yeah. Oh man. And sometimes I just honestly don't even make a dressing. I'll just drizzle it on my salad just to have as a dressing, and don't put anything else in there. So just the tahini by itself. So, yeah, sesame seeds are higher in vitamin E. So, but they're great. It's not really a seed that you would eat, so it's nice you could actually use the seed, but in a different way. So, yes, feel free, you guys. You're more than welcome to head out. You don't have to stay, but thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. And I'll be around for any questions.
So I wanted to say one thing, especially for the people at home that are live streaming, that I forgot to mention. Thank you to Bowles Funeral Homes for helping to sponsor this, which is wonderful. So they came and they brought the waters, but they're also going to help pay for some of the ingredients today. And they're always a wonderful support for us here. And so thank you all for coming. And thank you all for supporting this. If we do this again in September, that would be wonderful. And then we'll pick it up again after the first of the year. Thank you so much, Brittany, for coming today.